Welcome everyone. I'm Shanae Chapman. I am the founder and CEO of Nerdy Diva, a tech agency that does user experience research and design, tech training, professional development, and career coaching. And I am also a proud LinkedIn instructor and instructor at Nielsen Norman Group. And I'm so excited for this conversation today. We are going to talk to Sidney Buckner, who is a software engineer and also an entrepreneur. And we are going to hear her insights about working in the tech industry, all the highs, the lows, and in between. And it's going to be good. We're going to get juicy. It's going to be a good conversation and give you some good tips about job searching. So as you are looking for your next job in tech or user experience or software engineering, we have some tips for you, from the resumes to the interviews to networking, which is so important for finding your next opportunity. And wow, it's been a messy couple of years in tech with all the layoffs and all the transitions and AI. And how do we work with all these different tools? And how can you use these tools for helping your job search? We're going to get into it. We're going to give you a lot of tips, a lot of action items that you can take with you and actually apply today to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success and that you are competitive and that you are getting those interviews and you are getting those job offers and you are getting the bag. So that's what it's all about today. And I definitely want to share with you that Sidney and I will be having a conversation. We'll be talking, but this is also for you. So you are part of this conversation as well. We want to hear from you. You can interrupt us anytime. It's not a big deal. You can ask your questions in the comments. You can show us some love in the comments. Tell us where you're calling from, why you came to this session today. We want to hear from you. And that's the real benefit of being live today, that you get to ask your questions and that we can answer that live with you also. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Sidney Buckner to the team. Hello, Sidney.
Hello. I am good. How are you today?
I am fabulous. It's good to
Good, good,
see
good.
your face. Good to see a familiar face. And
Yes,
yes,
very
how
much
is
so.
life
Very
in
much so.
Atlanta?
Life is lifing. It is always something going on in Atlanta, just always something like going on with life and stuff. But it's good. I had told you before we had gotten on that just like today, I was like, I'm going to wash my hair. It's wash day. And as
Yes.
we know,
And
as
you
Black
looking fresh and
women,
beautiful, girl. You're doing
thank
it.
you.
Yes.
Like that
Moisturize. Skin is
that can be
glowing.
it's
Yes.
a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And so I'm just glad that I was able to like do all of that before we decided to get on here. So
With
yes,
self-care. That's important. Hello from
yeah,
Florida,
yes.
Stephanie. Yes.
Hello, Stephanie. Hopefully you're doing well. So yeah, like I've been doing pretty well. So yeah, just life is here. I am present
Well,
and
you
I
got your
am
coffee and your tea.
yes,
Yes, we
very much
ready.
so.
Look, I got
I'm
some
ready to
water
talk.
here too. We gotta hydrate. We gotta stay
Yes,
hydrated out here.
very
Yes.
much so. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm definitely ready. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to talk. Let's do it.
Good, good. Well, you have done some amazing things in your career. So I just want to ask you first about, can you tell us more about your journey in tech and who you are, and a little bit more about your journey and what you have done so far and what you're planning on doing next?
Yeah, so I have been in the tech industry for it's going to be, I believe, 6 years in October. And so, me personally, I have been a front end engineer focused on creating better customer experiences with React and TypeScript for this part of my career. And I've realized that I really like to experiment with my learning and growth as I've like navigated through the different plot points of my career. And so, I'm currently looking for my next role. And I know that with my skills in engineering, with my skills in teaching, as well as content creation, I hope that maybe there is something out there that makes sense for my next role. And I'm really excited to be here and talk with you all about just the different things that I'm doing. Originally, when it comes to like going back to how I gotten to this point, I was originally going to be like an ME or a pharmacist or something
Spell it
like.
out for us. Spell it out for some of us who don't know those acronyms.
Yeah, sorry. So a medical examiner. So medical examiner, like dealing with some of the forensics, trying to like solve those cases when it comes to like confirming what the cause of death happened
Wow, it's
to a
completely
specific
different.
person. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so I won't say too much to like gross out the audience and things. Just like I definitely had like a very humbling experience in which I was like, you know what? We're gonna have to transition. We're gonna have to like pivot and do something else. And so I was at a kind of a crossroads at like what was it, maybe sophomore year in college, where I was like, okay, I can either figure out like what else I want to do with like any of the majors that are available to me. One of them was computer science, and then the other one was English rhetoric. So just to make sure that I like had all of my credits in order, I went to English rhetoric and had a really fun time with the professors with figuring things out like that. Because then I was like, ooh, I'll just like go into book publishing. I absolutely love books.
Ooh,
I love having to read them.
I love books too. I want to write a book one day. Yeah,
me too. So yeah, and it's definitely a process. I know people that have like self-published, and oh my goodness, that is a process. It is a money, like it just, there's so much to it. And so that would have been really fun to like have to think about, do, be, have. And what made me decide to pivot actually into tech is that during my senior, capstone projects and things, I was starting to study the intention and impact of like rhetoric all over like social media, especially in terms of like how people grow when it comes to like content creation and things. And so this is like way, way back. Hilarious that like we're circling back and like that's what I'm just like doing now and things. And so I had like made my YouTube channel, I had put up a website and things, and was like, like this is been really fun being able to like do a little bit of like HTML and like coding to try and like make it like how I wanted it to. And so I decided to like pursue that further after I had graduated, because I wasn't sure what else that I really wanted to do.
There's so many options. It's hard to decide sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, okay, like I could move to New York and like figure out like how to like get into publishing, because like that's where it's all big there. And then instead, what I had decided to do is that I had discovered a nonprofit organization that was in my home city, Launch Code. And so they're based in St. Louis, a nonprofit organization. Yes. They are dedicated to helping adult students learn to code and figure out the process from like actual job training to internships, apprenticeships, as well as getting people into those full-time jobs, either contract, full-time, in different medians in that way. And so I was really fortunate to be able to have the people that I worked with, the people that taught me, to be able to be there like every step of the way that I was looking. And I had finally decided after I had job hopped, like doing admin things, that I was finally going to like just try and get into the transition. And I finally did it. That was in 2018, in October, when I had gotten my first job as a test engineer. And that really changed the game for me. And so after that, I was like, okay, like I've got to figure out like what else that I can do, what else that I can be, what else that I can have to really be able to figure out like how I can stay in this community first off, but also just be able to figure out like what else that I can do like beyond the St. Louis area.
And that's the beauty of working in tech. You can work from home anywhere across the world, and there's so many good tech jobs across the country. And although there's been a lot of transition and layoffs, there's still companies and government agencies hiring for tech jobs. So a lot of options.
And I really, that's something that I hadn't like really like even thought of before I had gotten into the tech industry. And honestly, something that I hadn't even thought of like early on in my career either. Just the pandemic, despite like ruining a lot of people's lives, let's be very honest about that.
It did that, didn't it? Yeah.
That was a bit of a inflection point for me. Like
Mhm.
it was a turning point. It was one of those things that it really did help me be able to like sit in the silence and be able to figure out like what else that I like really wanted to do with my life. Like I was thinking we're gonna die anyway, so which is incredibly morbid. Like
A
I
little
don't
bit,
want to
just a little bit.
I don't want to like ever go
But
back.
legacy, it makes you think about your legacy. What do you leave behind when that
Yeah.
time comes? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, ooh, like that's depressing. But it that is exactly why I decided to move. I decided to do different things, decided to just, okay, let's put some stuff out on the internet,
That's
let's talk to
right.
people,
Take some
let's
risks.
experiment. Yes.
Love that. Love that. Stacey Graham is also calling from Atlanta. Hey, Stacey.
Hello, Stacy. I know
Yeah.
who you are. Hi. Hope you're doing well.
Stacey and I worked at Boeing at the same time years
Oh,
ago.
really? Oh,
Yes,
really? Oh,
yes.
that's good to know.
Yes, yes.
That's so cool. Congratulations. Stacy, I believe that you are an ambassador at Render ATL, and I'm so excited to see you this year. So shout out to you. I hope you're
Y'all
doing
making
well.
connections. Y'all better meet up. Y'all better keep that going.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yes, definitely.
yes. And Alan's showing you some love in the comments. They're saying
Hello,
congratulations,
hello.
Sydney.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you so
Al,
much.
how you doing? Yes, yes.
I appreciate you all. Thank you. Shout out. I see Appa. That's really funny. I love all my stuffed animals. So here's Appa. Here's my friend Bearamy. Here's Happy.
We got the
So some
whole
of y'all,
crew.
yeah, exactly.
It's
So yeah,
support. It's the support system. Yes.
exactly. They're like my
Yes,
therapy
yes.
pets. I don't have any like actual like dogs or pets or anything like that, but they're quiet enough. They're quiet and I can put them down and pick them up whenever I want to.
That's right. Because we have a dog and a cat at home, and they are a lot of fluff, and we love them, but they are
Yeah.
noise, and they can be chaotic at times. So yes.
I am not ready to play the game of is that a spider or is that hair with different pet hairs
You get comfortable
because
with your vacuum cleaner very quickly. You're like, this is my friend. We will use
very much
you
so.
on a regular basis. Yes, yes.
Because I already had to do that with my own hair, so I can't do that with like anybody else's. Like, nope, we're not doing that.
Right. And Miss Pamela is saying, yes, hair wash day is an experience for Black women. Yes. Hopefully Sydney will add some comments on the YouTube and on the tutorials. Show us some.
Oh yes,
Yes.
actually, that's a good idea. So I use Nature All Club. Nature All Club. That is NATURALL Club, and Black owned business. I
Love
absolutely
it.
love their products. I use their shampoo, their conditioner, their leave-in conditioner, as well as their styling custard. That's what it's called. And so it's just a wash and go. The key to like making sure that this is like tamed and things is that I detangle my hair when it's sopping wet. So I use one of those like detangling brushes like
That's a good
through
one.
the
While you're in the
course.
shower too. That's a good
Hmm.
one.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
So
Now you know
that's
the
really
tip.
important. Very
Yeah.
much so. And just again, wash, condition. For me, because I'm detangling like during the process of like washing and conditioning, that maybe takes like 30 minutes. And then I'm able to just be able to style it with my leave-in conditioner and the curling custard and then go. So yeah,
Love it.
absolutely.
Love it. And
Yeah.
that gets you ready when you have your interviews. You're
Yes.
getting ready, you're feeling confident, you're ready to go. So I have a
Yes,
few
very much
questions
so.
for you because we're here to dive into job searching tips and ways to continue to grow our careers and how can we be successful and be competitive. And I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of your top tips for job searching in the tech industry? And how has it changed over the past couple of years as well?
Yeah. So wow, like this could probably be like a whole other like niche subject we could talk about. So we know this job market is messy.
It
In the past few
is. It's a hot mess.
it's
And these recruiters are disrespectful. It's like you dating somebody and they don't call you back. And I ain't here for it. I'm not here for it. It's not okay. Just say
so let
nice.
me
That's it.
So let me sip my tea. Just let me stay silent. But just 80,000 employees, and more than 250 considered like tech companies have been like laid off in 2024 alone. And it's only been 4 months. Like what? That's insane. And considering like there's 200,000 people from 1,100 different companies that were laid off last year, like, you know, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. I don't love saying that because I don't know the future. I'm not going to sit here and say that I like know all.
Though. It's really tough. I was laid off from my day job last year also, so it's a big transition. And that's why I say it's important to have multiple streams of income. It's important for you to figure out what else can you do if something happens to your day job tomorrow. What are other ways that you can create revenue? Maybe you start a business, maybe you teach, maybe you find something else that you are talented in to have other options if the day job does not work out.
Yes, very much so. One of the big things that I'm like starting to learn for myself now, after like having to have gone through like job hopping, I've definitely gotten laid off before. I've found another job and things. The being adaptable, being able to find a way to be unique, as well as, oh, hey, thumbs up, as well as trying to figure out like how to diversify your income, like you said, are the biggest things that I think are going to help people, especially if you're graduating with a computer science degree, especially if you're like trying to transition into the tech industry. For me, being adaptable means being flexible. You need to remove yourself from all those Western traditional expectations that you need to be in a certain state, a certain city, a certain office, or a certain kind of company to like do the work. One of my favorite tweets is from a friend, Nick DeJesus, who's like, you can be an engineer at Febreze. Like they need those, right?
Look, I love Febreze. I got some right here in this house. Yeah,
exactly. So like, like that. There's no shame in that. Like you're getting the bag. You're like doing what you need to do. You're coding for them. Like that's totally fine. Like if you need to freelance, if you need to like do like contract work, yes. Like it is about making sure that you are prioritizing.
And there's no shame in that. Yeah. No. Careers are long. You can do all kinds of things in your career.
Careers are long, and like I realized that it's too much energy to try and like be into like one thing for like such a long time. I don't understand how some of these older generations are able to do that. I know why, because they have pensions. Again,
that does help. Like, you know, that income coming in after you retire, that does help. But many jobs don't have pension anymore. So
exactly.
You gotta do what's best for you and your family.
Yeah, like I'm in a space where I am freelancing. I've definitely coached before. Trying to figure out like how I can help people like make study plans so they can feel a bit more productive when it comes to going into these like tech interviews to get more comfortable. I've taught before. I've been an instructor at the boot camps that I've taught at, been able to like write that curriculum and help people understand like this is a different perspective on like how people learn. And you know, because we have to realize that like people are going to learn and process things differently. And so that's always going to be a spectrum, and that's always going to be something that grows from time to time. So going back to the original question, having to figure out like those like top tips and things, right now, I really do believe in like stacking that deck as much for you as possible. And if you are able to have people like in your network talk to you about different job opportunities, potentially give you a referral, like that's going to be your first line of like defense. So you don't have to go through the thousands and thousands of people that are also like trying to like get that specific job too. So you'll at least like be either closer to the line of potentially getting that phone call and things.
And the employee referrals are a big deal in tech as well. Yeah.
Yes. And that's one of the things. That's definitely one of the things. The other thing is that what is it, the uniqueness of like being able to niche down and figure out like what type of like concentrations that you kind of want to be known for, either as an expert or somebody that knows how to share or communicate all of this information in a way that makes sense to people, in a way that is where you've either learned, you've been able to say that you've made a mistake, you've been able to acknowledge that, you've been able to really like get deep down into the weeds of whatever this particular thing is, subject wise, and be able to tell people about it in a way that makes sense to them, I think is incredible. And so that means either if you need to get more education, me personally, I can't say that I will get a master's degree anytime soon. You know what, Georgia Tech is somewhere around the corner, and not
they do
very
have
far from
part-time
here.
programs, though. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah,
Part-time,
exactly.
work during the day, do your contracts. Just do a little
Exactly.
bit as you go. Yeah.
I definitely could do that, but like I'm kind of like, ugh, like I would rather like kind of go dig deep into like some of the other like what is it, groups and what is it, networking events, to like really understand. But I will never, exactly, I will never say that you shouldn't like go back to school, or that you shouldn't get a certification to help like diversify your prospects and your knowledge to get those skills. So again, like finding that way to be unique in those different niches, to be able to record them, to be able to communicate them, is going to be really important. And then, like you said, figuring out ways to diversify your income is another big thing. So if that's with blogging, if that's with content creation, if that's with video editing, if that's with creating crafts, like I know a person that's like, what is she doing? She's creating stickers, and another friend of mine is 3D printing like phone keychains.
Oh, okay.
While they're like looking for, I believe, some like data science positions and things. And so, you have those unique things that you're able to do. And like, ooh, I like getting the little knickknacks sometimes, like the practical ones. So yeah, I'll definitely buy and, help out in different businesses and things. And
it's another way to get your name out there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
promoting yourself. Yeah.
It's all about like making sure that you're able to like use those special talents that like maybe you don't necessarily like use in the workforce like all of the time in the traditional sense, quote unquote, to like figure out like how you can diversify your income, because you can't rely on that one income anymore to make money. And I don't think that you should commodify and what is it, make all of your like hobbies and activities and things something to be monetized.
Sure.
You gotta have something for you.
That's for fun.
Yeah, but in some ways, like there are different skills that people have and they're transferable from one specific career to potentially another, to be able to like sell in some sort of way. So if you can, if you do have the privilege, definitely do so. And that'll help you be less afraid of having to go into like these experiences, these interviews, to
because you
be
have
able to sell yourself.
Yeah, if you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, you have options. You can come into your interviews more relaxed, and you can prepare. And you also know, like, hey, if it doesn't work out, I can still do X, Y, and Z. And that just makes you show up more confident and more, authentic in your interactions and your conversations. This way you're not all worked up and emotional, like, oh my God, I gotta get this. This is the only thing that I have. So like having those options, definitely very helpful.
I have been there, done that when it comes to different interviews. And let me tell you, I'm still in therapy for that. So thank goodness for my therapist.
I think everybody needs a therapist. Yes. I had my therapist also. And I'm like, and we talk about journaling also about your process of going through interviews and layoffs and, all of the drama that happens in the workplace. Like being able to actually write that out can be cathartic and can be a good way to just get some of those emotions off your chest as well.
Yeah, because like you're in a space where you're prefrontal cortex is like shutting down basically. Like you're in that like
Yeah,
fight or flight
flooded.
response that's
Yeah.
like way too flooded. It is like it's trying to process too much information, and
Mhm.
honestly like you're thinking that you're physically in danger, and so like having to take that
Right.
step back and understand like what those triggers are. Look at me in my
Mhm.
psychology bag.
Right. Come on,
Just
teach the people. That's right.
just like chatting about like what my therapist tells me all the time. Being able to like find those triggers is what's been very much so like helping me in my process of like figuring out like what is next from like when I've like transitioned to jobs and things. But also I just believe in like recording everything. So
Yeah.
cover yourself accordingly is what I
These are
call
good
it.
skills for when you have the job also. Yes. Have
Exactly.
your
So
receipts. Yes. Yes.
always have the receipts, figure out like how exactly you can record like what exactly you're doing in a
Your
project,
accomplishments too. Yeah.
your accomplishments, who you've talked to, what mistakes
Mhm.
that you've made, what did you accomplish, what exactly did it like impact when it comes to the team, when it comes to the company and things, how much money did it make, how much
Mhm.
did it help like what's going on with like the company like projections and things. So how to stay a little bit more level headed when it comes to having all of these like pieces of information that you need to like remember to be able to sell yourself. Like
Yeah.
just write everything down.
Yeah. And
Write everything down and
Chelsea,
keep up with it.
yeah, very good points. Chelsea Middleton, also a Launch Code grad. She has a question about how do you stay level-headed when marketing to employers during an interview?
So, for me, I really do think that it is about um, having those written things down about like what you've accomplished and being able to have like those notes like right there as you're
Mhm.
going along, even if it's like written down, even if it's like on your screen. If that's something that is able to help you like stay calm, I am definitely a person that has been able to do that. I have my fidget toys. I won't say that that is like the best thing in the world, but just something to be able to like comfort my nervous system as I'm going forward. But also knowing that there are maybe 3 or 4 things that you have been able to accomplish, to be able to summarize like in your introduction for yourself, like always having those on hand is a great way to be able to start off the conversation. And sometimes you just need to make it a little bit more personal.
Mhm.
If there's like anything that you may want to talk about, like when it comes to like your day and things, maybe that will break the ice a little bit more. I was just like we had talked before about when it comes to my hair, I decided this morning that today was wash day. Like that is something that we can both relate to.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
To make that tension just like ease a little bit more,
Build some of that
find
relationship with your interviewer. Also, ask about
exactly.
their day, the weather
Yes.
conditions, and then about transferable skills. So, like, how
Yes.
do you share when you have transferable skills and you are interviewing for a new role?
Ooh, okay. So I'm still also like figuring that out myself, but I think that as long as you're able to figure out like what those transferable skills are, like
Mhm.
actually being able to like list down, okay, what skills do I actually have and what skills do they potentially need? Is there a way that I'm able to either like pivot the perspective of like what I've done in maybe like career A into like what potentially that I can do in career B?
So, make
So
those direct connections. So, like, I've done
yeah.
project management as a software engineer, so I know that I
Mhm.
can also do that as a program manager, for example.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. For example, being able to do content writing, content creation, and things. I have written YouTube scripts before.
Mhm.
If you haven't already, definitely check out my YouTube channel and tell me what you think and things. I have done editing before. Like those are some skills that like I have learned from college that I've like been able to consistently have some sort of like either authority or practice over that I've been able to use in my career going forward as a software engineer, very like in indirect ways. But the transferable skills there are that I know how to write, I know how to like actually communicate where I am not always repeating the things that I'm trying to say. I'm knowing when transition should be when it comes to like a conversation, how to stay on topic when it comes to different like meetings and objectives, how to organize my thoughts into a way that makes sense to another person. Because sometimes words doesn't always help. Sometimes I do need to draw pictures. Sometimes I do need to make that
Visuals.
Documentation and examples.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that those are different things that you kind of have to zoom out a little bit to really like understand from like what you've done from over the course of the different careers that people have had. I myself, I've been an admin assistant. I have like worked in planned giving in college and things. So those are different things that you have to like remember just to like list down as much as possible, even if it's from like old resumes you have, and try and find that new perspective, try and pivot that
and make it simple, make it easy for them to say yes. You have to come in with that confidence. Like, I know that I can do this because I've done X, Y, and Z previously. Yes. Yes. Shabab, thank you for joining us. Shabab has a question about oversaturation of talent in the software engineering industry. How do you recommend applicants to get their resume to the right people? Is it poor form to direct message hiring managers with your resume off the bat, since applications can be time sensitive?
So that's something that I have experimented with myself. I am a person that is more on like the side of caution when it comes to doing that. I don't think that it is necessarily a bad idea to give your resume directly to a hiring manager, but please understand that like you're probably not the only one that's like thinking about doing that as well. And so you can't go into that with the expectation that like you're always like going to get answered. And like I would be overwhelmed. Like I have a ton of LinkedIn like messages and things. I go through them as much as I can, but inboxes can be a mess. And so in that way, I would lower your expectations when it comes to like having that shot. Shoot your shot. I absolutely believe that you should, because one, you can see what you can get away with. That's my big thing. You see what you can get away with, because you never know like what timing, what like people have done during their day, like what is happening in those circumstances where people are just like, yeah, you know, whatever, let's just try it. It's about being tenacious, but knowing that like that one way isn't like going to be like the set winner for you, because there are 5 other people that are probably going to think that way as well, is really important. And so that's why I think going back to, again, having that network, going to these either conferences, either these meetups, making sure that you know people that are local in your area that you can like talk to about code, learning in public, learning on the internet, putting out there. Yes, absolutely. Like being able to form that community, so that you can talk to these people that are on either the same playing field or just a little bit above, or just maybe even a little bit below. Try and like make those connections to see if whether or not you might be able to get a referral at a place that you really want to be at.
Organically. Or just asking for the referral because you have that relationship. I agree with you 100%. And I think it's kind of like cold calling. If someone just sends you a resume and like a LinkedIn DM, you're like, oh, hey, hello. But the thing is, there's a lot of jobs that get filled because people already know the person. They already know this person either from networking. And Stacey Graham, thank you for your comment. She talks about attending conferences and meetups to help you get to know people, because that's going to be a way to have a softer introduction versus a cold call. And you want to have that relationship where people are referring you like, oh yeah, I know Shabab. Shabab is on YouTube and LinkedIn sharing about what he knows about software engineering. Like, oh yeah, I definitely would recommend him for this opening. You want people to organically refer you, and you can only do that if you have that relationship if you take the time to meet people, to share about what you know, to ask them about what they do, and to build those connections. So that's very important. Yeah, totally agree.
Very much so.
Yes,
Very much
yes. Okay, so and Charlize is saying she writes books, she does hair, she creates summer camp curriculum. Hustle, baby, hustle in St.
Yes,
Louis.
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, the summer camp curriculum. So, that's from what I understand, like that's getting really big, especially for people that are like trying to make sure that they're homeschooling their children during the summer and things like being able to sell those templates online. That absolutely is a good thing. So anything in education and finance, yeah, people are going to flock to.
And that's the beauty of it, because technology changes so quickly, there will always be something new to learn. So if you enjoy working in tech, also consider how can you teach other people about technologies that you know. That can be another great way to add in additional revenue streams. We talk about adding in additional options, additional income. Being able to teach is a big one, and it's rewarding too. You get to share what you love with someone else and help open up some doors for them and help them get unstuck and help them find new opportunities as well. So it's a win-win situation.
Teaching is a very humbling experience. I can't imagine. First off, shout out to all the teachers, especially from kindergarten to high school, like, and college, yes, but like in these like primary like school statuses that they are doing the thing. Like I am very I understand.
Bless you all. Yes. My mother, Pamela Donaldson, was a teacher for 32 years in St. Louis Public School District. So
wow, congratulations! Oh my goodness. I went to Hickey when I was in 5th grade, and then where did I go? I went to Kennard Classical Junior Academy when I was like, that was 5th grade maybe. So I'm fairly sure those were in like the St. Louis school district. So
yes, they are. Yes, that's right. And you know, it's so empowering to have that representation of Black people and women in technology sharing what we know as well. We want to encourage more diverse creators, content creators, developers, designers, researchers, and we want to be part of that conversation, sharing our lived experience and helping make tech more inclusive and equitable and accessible as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, very much so. The thing is that like we all realize that DEI is diversity, equity, inclusion. And I think that these connections to make sure that you are in a space of like actually like having those is that because companies are looking for like the biggest new things to help them grow, help them make profit, help them make money. The way that you're going to be able to do that is making sure that you're creating the environments where people are able to feel respected. They're going to be feeling empowered to perform at their best. And it's not necessarily under the guise of like this like Western sense of professionalism. There's going to be plenty of other types of professionalism out there that is not beholden to this one certain umbrella, and realizing that there are tons of holes that people can poke through when it comes to this like process, and understanding like what people are going through when it comes to like having to get to those challenges, like when they're actually like at the door, like when they're trying, they have all these qualifications, they have all of this stuff coming to your company and things like, why are you making it so difficult to have to like do all of this work, but then also like try and go through all these like uphill battles of like having to even just show up to work every day. And so having to figure out those healthy sets of like understanding like what that means, especially for equity in these companies. I think being able to figure out the different like programs and actual like changes, actual money, putting that money in action.
Yeah, and recruiting strategy also. Are you going to spaces that are welcoming to people of color and to women? Shabab had
to figure that out.
Absolutely. Shabab had a good question. With the constant layoffs happening in tech, for newcomers also, how do you
Mhm.
stay sane? How do you stay sane and stay motivated in this process?
So, look, this is why I pay my therapist.
Yes, ain't nothing wrong with that. Yes, therapy is a good thing if you have the means to
Mhm.
do it, or talk to a trusted friend or advisor, and just have that space to share. Like, hey, this is a tough time, and you talked
Yes.
about journaling also being a good idea.
I truly do. One thing that I knew that I had really wanted to do going into 2024 is making sure that I record more of like my day-to-day life, even if it seems like very mundane. What I'm grateful for, what I have
Mm,
learned
love that.
during the day, and also being able to just write down the things that have happened, because sometimes we do internalize that is going into those like fight or flight responses where you're feeling like you're in danger, you're feeling like you like need to respond in a way that's not necessarily appropriate or that's not necessarily rational. And so like having to be able to write that out or like just speak it out sometimes helps turn that prefrontal cortex on again and
Yeah.
just be like, that isn't rational, what's going on here? And so
Mhm.
i I am in that chair every month paying my therapist
Yeah.
to get me out of those like feelings and situations. But also, um, what I really think that people don't understand is that like it really is about seeing what you can get away with. Like
Mm. Taking risks. Yeah.
the no's are going to be those cases where you're going to have to pivot, you're going to have to redirect, and you're going to have to figure out like, okay, instead of banging my head against a wall, again, parroting my therapist here, how is it that I can either find a different alternative to just give that effort, give just a bit of effort to be able to push through that door instead of like having to like try and knock down doors that are clearly not opening up for me.
Yeah.
And part of that is like being able to process like, okay, I'm hearing these no's. There's a lot of stuff going on. Understanding that if you are feeling brave enough to share, that you're not alone, like in that feeling. Learning in public, being able to put out your experiences in public,
Ask
um,
questions. Keep asking those
ask
questions.
questions,
Yeah.
being able to talk about all of these things in a way that is making sure that you have all of this experience, that you're being transparent, is a way to be able to, I feel like, be able to process more of like, okay, all of this is going on. I don't think that you should internalize all of the things. I really think that you should either write it out, talk it out, find a community that you feel like
Mhm.
you're able to trust to be able to,
And
what is
career
it, talk to.
coaching. Yeah.
Yes,
You and I both do
especially.
career coaching. Yeah.
Yes. Um, what is it? I Rona Pierce, I know, is a career coach. Letitia Bird in Career
Mhm.
Chasers, she also does career coaching there. There are a couple of other people that I'm missing right now. Oh, the Job Father,
Okay.
Jermaine. His screen name is the Job Father on Twitter, and he definitely is a person to go to when it comes to figuring out those highs and lows and figuring out how to get yourself into that space where you're able to shine more with your resume, with your experiences and
Yeah.
things, to get that one step closer to getting that job. And I do think that there can be an argument made to help supplement your career, help supplement your your resume, your cover letter, and things with AI to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
Right.
To a certain
Yeah. Let's
extent.
talk about that a bit. Yeah. How do you use AI for your resumes and cover letters?
So, a couple of places that I go to, perfectresume.com, I believe, is one of the places that I've gone to help me just form a basic template for my resume. I have also gone to resumeworded.com.
Okay.
And so, what I like about Resume Worded is that they're slightly based off of what is it, the ATS system
Yeah,
that HR
applicant
uses.
tracking system. Yes.
Yes. And so what they're doing is that their program, I'm assuming, is using their artificial intelligence to help kind of gauge like where exactly you should be when it comes to the different descriptions, the different skills that you have on your resume in comparison to, let's say, a job posting, and see like on that scale of like maybe 1 to 100 or something, to where like, okay, these are the things when it comes to your punctuation, when it comes to your spelling, when it comes to your impact, when it comes to your skills, that could be measured a little bit better to fit into the guises of getting your resume passed to that system.
For
So
some of those keywords
right.
that are important for that role. Yeah.
Yeah. So like actual humans can actually like look at this, because like having to look at those like thousands of resumes and things like that's a lot. And so yes, you can absolutely share some of these links. And
yeah, we'll have it in the show notes, so we'll have it posted as well.
And I have liked the experience that I've had with Resume Worded so far. I like the different templates that I've been able to see. I'm fairly sure it's Perfect Resume or My Perfect Resume, but I'll get back to you all on that.
Because you can Google like software engineer resume and see some templates, or user experience researcher resume and see some templates of like how people format and make a copy of that and edit it with your information as well.
Very much so. And I do believe that if you're going to go for a template, go for the career coaches templates. Jermaine, the job father, I believe that he has some really great resources that are for free. They are different templates. You make a copy of it, and based off of like what like he's talking about in his different content and experiences, make sure that you go through and see if you can meet yourself in the middle when it comes to those skills, when it comes to like what they're looking for in that job posting, as well as like what impact that Jermaine is talking about that you need to like put into to make your resume stand out more. So yeah.
Very good. Tatiana has a question. How do you address career gaps in your resume?
I still don't know. I still don't know myself.
Experiment with it. Because I've seen some people post on like LinkedIn that they took a sabbatical, or like they had a baby and they took some time off, like being transparent about that. I've seen some people just do that and list it, you know?
And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. My thing is that I feel like in whatever kind of capitalism type of stage that we are in here, like people expect us to be like working all the time, and it's like that doesn't make any sense. Like we want to be able to take vacation. There could be a death in the family. There could be something going on with our children. Sure. We could want babies. Like what are you talking about? I have to work through like all of that. That doesn't make any sense. Also, like, because the job market has been like really insane, like the expectation should be there that there probably is a gap because the pandemic, the market, the vibes, like what else would it be? And so,
and sometimes I will add that into if there's like a comment field, I will add in some notes like, hey, like there was a layoff in 2023, and so I've been doing contracts during that time period. So I think that definitely can help like build that connection and that story and that relationship as well.
Yes, very much so. And making sure that, people know that, yes, it was a layoff with severance and things. I don't know if it like makes any sense to like add on with severance, like going forward. It's just to make sure that you like have that other barrier to say like, I wasn't fired or anything like that. But things do happen. So
absolutely. That's how life goes. Yeah. Dan has a question. Do you include a cover letter if it's listed as an optional document? I hate writing them so much.
So I think that there is kind of an in-between. Personally, it feels like begging for the job. Like in this day and age, like I probably shouldn't say that out in public, but
Well,
oh
we
well.
gonna be honest though. This is all about honesty.
Look, because I do feel like in some cases, like hopefully if you've like been able to like do your job well with your resume,
Hmm.
then you're not having to like do more when it comes to like putting in more of that effort for a cover letter. However, because there are so many people out there that are trying to get the same job as you, when it comes to having that one space, that one potential advantage going forward, you might as well put in a cover letter, because maybe that will be that like indicator for maybe the ATS system or for the recruiters that like, yes, I am very serious about like trying to get this position, and here's why. So, and that is going to distinguish you from all the rest of the people that decided, I don't want to have a cover letter, because yeah, like it does feel like sometimes you're begging
Yeah.
and things, but if you're able to reframe it in a way where it's like, okay, this job is perfect for me because this, that, and the third, because you'll see why, like in my resume and things, like that's great. That is, I would be a recruiter and be like, huh, okay, like that's interesting. Like they decided to put in a cover letter while all the rest of these people decided not to. But also, I'm not a recruiter, so I can't say for
Yeah.
sure if whether or not that actually works. I would go to deciding to put in the effort to put in a cover letter if you know that the company is pretty huge and things, just to try and get yourself that one leg up. Again, see what you can get away
See?
with
Yeah.
that tenacity and go from there.
I have a different perspective because I
Okay,
have
yeah, I would
also been
absolutely
on
love
the
to hear that.
hiring side of
Yeah.
being on committees in corporate and at startups where I was on the hiring committee, and I hire people for Nerdy Diva, and
Yeah.
I look at the resume first. If
Mm.
it's not up to snuff, I'm not even looking at the cover letter. So, and
Mm-hmm.
I've had as a applicant, I've had people see my resume and come back to me and say, hey, can you send us the cover letter? So I also feel like if they really want
Interesting.
you, they will ask for
Yeah.
that additional information. And Al says, do hiring managers read cover letters anymore? And that's the thing. I don't think many read the cover letter unless they see something that's exciting on your
Mm-hmm.
resume.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the jobs, they don't even have the option of submitting the cover letter anymore. So it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
depends. Yeah, just kind of
Yeah, I think so
depends.
too. I I I didn't even like think about that perspective, that most people would like prefer to read the resume first because it's right there. You have your skills,
Yeah,
you have like the either monetary or the very um what is it, attainable, like number type of values and impact right there that you've been able to give to the company, contribute to, and things. And so,
hmm,
like, how is that going to necessarily? Are you going to just like, kind of drudge that out like in a cover letter and things?
yeah,
Maybe, but having that like right there as like the impacts that you've been doing in your resume.
yeah,
Yeah, I think like making sure that the resume is like on point is going to be the most important part. So
absolutely.
I wouldn't know about cover letters necessarily. I experiment all the time, but
Yes, and that's the
again,
thing. Keep experimenting. Shabab says, if doing a cover letter, how long should it be without making the application process too long? Is half a page good? I think half a page is fine. Like I don't
mhm.
really want to read too much more than that. Just a very nice, concise paragraph. What do you think, Sydney?
Um, if that is the case, then why do a cover letter? Try and like put all that introduction like in either the comments of an application instead. I think, and again, that's just like me
If
talking.
you
Like
have space in
I'll
your
put in.
resume, yeah. Some of us
Hmm.
been working for a long time. We may not have space
Hmm.
there, but if you got
Yeah.
space, add it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And if you need to like put in like some other comments like as an introduction and things, if they give you the
Like
space
a
to like,
summary, professional
yeah,
summary. Yeah.
if they give that to you like in the application, definitely like put your cover letter half a page and things there instead of like having to do like a whole thing where you're submitting PDF, a letter of
Yeah.
interest, all that fun
And
stuff.
you
Yeah.
can use AI to help with that. That's what I use ChatGPT for. Like I give it some of the things I wanted to use in a cover letter. If I'm creating one, or even resume, like make this concise, rewrite this in my same tone, but make this concise using keywords.
So
yeah,
you're better than me, because I am definitely like Chat GPT. Who is that? That is not that girl.
Girl, it does help. Like I won't put any confidential information in it. Don't put your social security number in it. Look, don't put your health records in it. But for things that are public facing, it is helpful for summarizing information and getting to the point quickly. So it does help.
Yes, summarizing. Summarizing that information, and figuring out. I think that it can be a double-edged sword. Like it can definitely sound like you're like using AI, if you're like relying too much on it. So like, for example, whenever I have documentation or scripts that I'm trying to like outline to make it more concise, I definitely have to like look through and like be very cautious about like reading what the results are from Chat GPT, because you know, it is only relying on a certain set of information, but it does.
You have to monitor it. You do.
It can sound very robotic, and that's like, that doesn't sound like
Make it sound like you. Yes.
Make it sound like you as much as possible.
Here. Any good resources for a creative transitioning into cybersecurity? Any ideas there?
Cybersecurity. As a creative, I would love to hear more about specifically creative, like what you have done, before I like answer that question a bit more fully. And also, I'm not a cybersecurity expert. So the biggest thing that I know that you would probably want to do is make sure that you're getting into Python when it comes to programming.
Python.
Because that is going to be, first off, that's going to be the most popular programming language for having to do anything with cybersecurity that I know of.
You know some things. Don't be shy. You know some things.
But also making sure that you are looking towards resources about like certifications potentially, especially
CISSP. That's the golden standard for cybersecurity.
Yes. What else? The TIA, the CompTIA Plus.
AWS has a good cybersecurity certification as well.
Very much so. Like having to look into those extra ways, especially if like you're not in computer science and things, being able to get that education and being able to prove that you've been able to like do all of that work is going to take you a lot farther than just like having to do projects, having to just kind of do things raw, or even do things in a boot camp. It'll at least like put you in a space where you have been officially certified by this very official organization that you can do this work. And also
Security Plus and CompTIA. Good. Chelsea's transitioning from graphic design. So that would be good in addition. And you know, that can be really helpful having that design background, because then you can see like some of that user experience workflow and journey mapping, and you can apply that as you're thinking about building secure systems. So a lot of overlap there, because I've done a lot of UX work on building secure systems. So they can play together. They can play in the same house.
Very much so.
Al has a question about recruiters. They don't always know a fair salary. So like, how do you approach when you have a salary range? How do you approach the negotiation of salaries and compensation with recruiters?
So for me, I have always been taught by friends, by career coaches, some that are both, that you, first off, never say like your first like offer. Like you don't say the first offer. What you really need to be doing is making sure that you do as much research as possible with the experience that you have, with the desired job that you're looking for and things. What exactly is that range that is very typical? So Glassdoor has that for different companies, because people tell anonymously like what exactly that they're making. levels.fyi is another place to help you research like what specific salary ranges that people have had, because they put it out there anonymously again. And understanding like what transferable skills that you have between the job that you're going for, as well as what you have experienced before, like what skills that you have like already, will be able to help you make that argument of, I deserve this because these are the things that I know as being in like this particular salary range, that I know that are things that I'm able to like do, be, and have. And again, this is me like summarizing all the things that I'm like learning myself when it comes to the salary negotiations. But making sure that you actually like do that research first before you even like go into that discussion and things. Again, if you can talk to other people, like
That's
in
right.
person,
Asking people that you know, asking people who don't look like
best.
you. So ask your white friends. What's your white male friends making? What's your white women friends? What are y'all making? What's the salary ranges out here? Share the love, share the information. Sharing is caring. We need to know, because women, people of color, often are not getting paid equitably. So we need to be having these conversations more often and having a range. Having a range for your area. If you are entry level, mid level, or senior level, needs to know like what your range is and what's the amount that you can walk away from. If it's too low for you, you need to walk away.
And when it comes to, I believe that somebody had asked in the chat, when they ask for salaries and like the job applications, like what should you do? It's always, I like to say, that's a really good question. Actually, I was going to ask you, like, would you happen to know the range off the top of your head, and go from there? And if they don't necessarily know, or if they're not like willing to say, it is okay to say, like, from what I understand, like your top range that you're looking for. But definitely like don't answer the question like what have you like made in like past jobs before, because
that's illegal. They're not supposed to ask that. That is illegal. Yeah. And if someone asks you that, remind them that, oh, isn't that unethical to ask that? So you put it back on them, like, because that's definitely not okay. Stephanie has a question. What advice would you give to a junior software engineer? What does success look like to you as a senior software engineer?
So what advice would I give a junior right now? I think that the biggest advice that I would give them is that having to learn traditionally in these ways that like the FANG companies are having you like are saying that you should do technical interviews and things, having to memorize like all these algorithms and things. That's not it. I'm not that person. That's too much information for me to hold. How do you learn? How do you learn? How is it that you're able to process that information in a way that makes sense to you? Because these traditional ways, experiences, aspects that they're like asking people to do, they don't actually do them in these companies. They just don't. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't like know the different like algorithms, potentially like memorize, or at least like have on hand as a resource to be able to get into these interviews and things. But how do you process information and like know that? What is your learning style? Find and experiment with different ways to find the answer in your own way that you learn. And then from there, being able to translate that process into a space either with words or in writing, to where you're able to communicate the different steps that you took to get from A to B, I think is going to be much more valuable going forward than having to memorize like any algorithms or anything. For me, for example, that means like with tech interviews, when it comes to like the leak code problems and things, one of my systems used to be like, okay, I'm going to try and solve the problem within an hour. And if I don't get it, then I'm going to go look at a solution immediately and try and figure out the why. Why is this a different like sets of steps like happening? And it's not that it doesn't work. It's that it's still so much processing in my brain that I'm not actually fiddling with the thing. I'm not actually like doing anything in a sandbox to like try and figure out like, okay, why does this work? And what I've decided to do is that I mind map. I have in like Figma a sandbox where I'm able to like have all these shapes and things. And when I know like what my inputs are, what I know what my outputs are going to be, I can figure out, okay, what are the containers that I need to fit any of these like values in so I can like return my output. What exactly do I need to do when it comes to the different algorithms that I want to do? Okay, I'm going to go through these like inputs and outputs one step at a time to like make sure that I'm understanding what is going on here. Yes. And being able to show that, but then also being able to, as you're refining that, being able to communicate that in whatever steps that is translatable, I guess, like to the person that you're talking to.
Yes, using business language also, because the recruiter and, you know, even sometimes the managers, they're not doing the tactical like coding or designing. They are more so strategy and, you know, big picture. So being able to take something very technical, but be able to tell a story about it and tell like the highlights about it in a way that most people can understand. Very similar to building portfolios for user experience as well, for design and research also. Yeah.
And I really think that to get more like out of your experience like as a junior and things, even like as a senior engineer now, like as long as you are able to, you need to feel more comfortable with learning in public is what I'm trying to say.
And saying that you don't know. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Like, that's a good question. I'll look into that and get back to you. Like, that's totally fine. Yeah.
And trying and knowing like what avenues to take to try and like figure out like how to get that answer is 100% going to take you like much farther.
And people will respect you also if you admit that you don't know something instead of trying to BS your way through the conversation. Like, people will respect that.
Yeah, like I definitely am I've done a fake it till you make it. Like, but you know, that can only take you so far. So it's about like trying to figure out like, okay, like how can I like close that gap? And so if you are able to describe like your way of thinking in your way, be able to tell about your mistakes, be able to tell about
and
like what exactly you learned.
Like, how do you work on teams? Who do you partner with? Yeah. You don't
all
do
of
it alone.
those.
Technology is so collaborative. We have to work with other people.
Absolutely. Very much so. I think all of those things are it is about experimentation. And you're not an expert, which is okay. You don't necessarily have to be an expert, but what you are trying to show is that like you are able to experiment with the possibilities of getting to an answer in different ways and try and figure out what works best for you and how you're able to communicate that clearly with others around you is what I think is the best advice.
Yeah, and it's definitely okay to say, I have expertise in X, Y, and Z. It's definitely okay to say, like, this is where I'm strong in, and this is where I'm continuing to learn. Because who doesn't want to hear that someone is ongoing learning and going to bring that to your company? That's the kind of employee that you want to hire as well. And then speaking about tech interviews, any tips for that process? Like, I know for me, like I practice, like I will put a Zoom meeting up for myself and I will practice through the interview. What kind of tips do you have for tech interviews?
So, the biggest thing that I could say with that, honestly, is to try and do as many mock interviews as possible because that will lower the bar. Yes, ma'am. That will lower the bar of like expectations. First off, for you to like not think that, oh my goodness, this is a big deal, the world is ending, because I've gone through that. That is what I sit down every month to talk to my therapist about. We are still processing that, but we are getting there. But the other thing is
these things that we think are so big and making them digestible. Like it's
Yes.
okay. Like being more relaxed with it, having more fun with it, taking it as a conversation. Like you're getting to know the hiring manager and the people at the company as well. Like taking that into account also.
Yeah. And I think that having the space to, again, practice having that like conversation going back and forth, like with your way of thinking, with those questions, even if it's with another person that might not necessarily understand like what's going on, it's going to help guide you into being able to guide somebody, to lead them from point A to point B to point C in your thought process. And so again, trying to make that experience as real, I guess, as possible.
Yeah.
And also, if that means that you are interviewing for jobs that maybe you're not necessarily interested in, to make
That's
you
right.
like
You can
more
practice.
motivated.
You can practice. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay.
Who's gonna know?
Yeah. And who knows? You might end up learning about the company, like, oh, actually, that might sound interesting. So
Yeah,
it's okay to practice at interviews as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
a way to do that. Stephanie also asks, is it good to mass apply to jobs? How did you target your job search?
Mass apply to jobs. I'm assuming you're meaning like just putting in like one resume for like a bunch of jobs. It's not that it doesn't work. Again, I think that it's a see what you can get away with. But again, the streets are saying, the experts are saying that you should probably tailor your resume a little bit more to what the actual job description is looking for. Because again, that ATS system is one of the biggest hurdles that you need to get over to even get your resume to a human. And so how exactly is your experience relevant to like what exactly there as a company, as a recruiter is looking for? And so you would rather do a little bit of like small efforts to tailor your resume to get closer, to get like over that wall, instead of just like having to just mass apply and see what happens. I don't think it's a bad idea, but also it's really about like how much more do you want to work when it comes to like having to do all the things, when it comes to actually like doing the job search.
Yeah, and you definitely can have more than one resume. Like,
yes,
because tech is so broad, you may be someone who can be a good candidate for many different types of roles. So like me, for example, I applied to UX design roles, but also UX researcher roles. I applied to individual contributor roles, but also management roles. So like you may be someone who can apply to multiple roles, and that's okay. And being able to, like, as you mentioned, you said the AI for your advantage, and looking for those keywords in the job description, making sure that they are listed, if they are applicable to your experience, adding them into your resume. And that's okay, but also having that connection, having someone at the company, at the organization who you can have as someone that you can have as a referral definitely makes a big difference. And I also want to put a plug in for government technology jobs as well. usajobs.gov. Come on with it.
Yes.
Let's get into that as well, because the government websites need a lot of help, y'all. They need a lot of help. So cybersecurity, we need a lot of that for government tech work, graphic design, UX design, research, software engineering. So look into those positions as well. There's a lot of new digital roles available, AI jobs available as well. And they have good benefits. They have a lot of good representation of people of color and women. And there's some good rewarding careers there. We can give back to your communities also. The hiring process takes a long time. I'm not going to lie, about 4 to 6 months through the entire process of submitting the application, interviewing, and going through the job offer process and background checks as well. So be prepared for that. And if you have those multiple incomes, then you can have some other income coming in while you're going through that process. So definitely want to point that out as well as another option for people.
Yeah, very much so.
Yes, yes. Well, okay. Let's see. Do we have any more questions for Sidney? Yes. we're going to share the links that Sidney mentioned. We'll have it in the show notes. So after we wrap up, we'll have those links where you can find them on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. So we will have that. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Love the questions. You all doing great. Speaking of AI, Al says, how are folks navigating that every job wants AI, but no one knows what it is or how to use it? Look, we got to start doing some training on AI, y'all. We got to start doing some of these AI boot camps and these certificates. Yes. What do you think, Sydney?
Look, so I do think that being able to navigate different platforms that utilize AI it's like the new what is it? Microsoft Office, like Word documents and things. Like you should be able to understand how to navigate, how to control Chat GPT to give you
There's
like
a
the
free
specific answer
version.
that
You
you
can
want.
use it for free also to experiment. Yes.
Exactly. And so being able to have that skill of being able to like actually talk to this machine, I think is one thing that will be important going forward to like understand kind of the basics of like what you need for, I guess, AI training and things, because it can be really helpful when it comes to, what is it, producing code, when it comes to like potentially producing ideas for different like design aspects and things. I have used it before to get prompts for an engineering survey that I've done. What is it? A survey for like my building for the activities and things. These aren't bad ways to like understand and utilize AI, but there's not always going to be a need to like know anything deeper than that, depending on like what your concentration of like your job is.
Right.
If you want to get into AI, if you want to like actually get into that machine learning and things, go for it. I
Certifications is a
wish you
great
luck.
way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've definitely thought about that, but it's one of those things where for me personally, I am in a space where it might be useful to know at least like some of the basics, maybe like programming when it comes to like Python, at least like knowing like some of the buzzwords when it comes to machine learning and things. But after that, like unless you're actually like going into wanting to build any like AI products, I think knowing how to function and be able to come up with like different answers and generate them from AI is going to be useful for like what these companies claim that they're asking for.
Yeah. Have an experience
Because
with the tools. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Instead of, because they'll tell you like if you're like trying to go for these specific jobs that are like looking for you to actually do AI and machine learning and things, like that's a whole other different discussion. You're
Using
wanting to
AI versus building AI. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So recognize it, understand that it can help you with some things. Do not put all of your code, do not put your entire repository or your entire software product into these like AI machines and things, because
Yeah.
that is not good for your company. You
No.
are violating your contracts. You're spilling company secrets. Don't do that.
It's public facing data for AI tools is what I always
Yes.
say. Public facing, if it's something that you even suspect might have some private information, don't put it in AI. Just don't do it. Charlize has a question. How do you feel about boot camps? Are they enough to break into tech without experience or a computer science degree?
So, I do not have a computer science degree.
This is a great question for you then. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that being said, I feel like I got a lot of information for practical uses of using programming, as well as the process of like Scrum and different things to help me understand like what is going on in my job processes more from a boot camp. From what I understand, that isn't necessarily the case with all types of like CS degrees and engineering degrees. However, I'm not an expert. I only have that one side, that boot camp side to attest to, and my experience was great. But also, I also had to supplement that experience with like learning on the outside.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on like what they're teaching you there
Right.
because it's limited scope. That's
Right.
all that it is.
Limited
And
time too.
exactly. And so, if if that is a limited scope, is if that's like limited time for you, and honestly, if it's like a curriculum that you're not necessarily like always understanding after you get out of the classroom, then it's about trying to figure out like what other extra steps that you can do to either balance life and balance that like extra study time, but also finding other resources that will help supplement like what you're learning going forward. And there are so many, from what I understand, there are so many like classes that are like introduction to like computer science and things like for free now. Free Code
Yeah.
Camp is one big place that I
Mhm.
will tell everybody and their mothers to go to. What is it? Harvard has a couple of their computer science
Yeah.
courses for free. That's like streaming online and things.
Mhm.
There's so many people.
LinkedIn Learning too. Yeah.
LinkedIn Learning. See, like there you go. Like LinkedIn Learning, there's so many things on YouTube.
Mhm.
There's no reason for you to not be able to supplement any of your learning from
And you have
like
to, even if you have a computer science degree, you have to, because the field changes so often with computer science, with user experience. It all changes all the time. Like you cannot be in a tech career and think like, oh, I learned that 2 years ago, I'm done. You are learning every year something new, and you got to stick with it. If this is the career for you, you got to be okay with learning every year.
Yeah. And being able to humble yourself enough to be like, oh, I don't know this. Like, let's go and figure this out. Like, even if it's on the fly. So I will never say that you shouldn't like get a computer science degree. Me personally, it's not something that I want to have to deal with having to go to school again. But that may change tomorrow, next year, and things.
And it also depends on what your career path is going to be. For some companies, they want you to have a bachelor's or master's if you are working at a senior level position as an individual contributor, or if you have plans to get into management. That's just still how a lot of companies are operating. We do see like some companies like Google who are saying like, you don't have to have a degree anymore. That's great. But do know that there are going to be some companies that don't have that same position. So just thinking about like, what do you want to do and how do you want to continue to go through your career as well? Question from Al. How are folks communicating that you know more than the hiring folks? It's not a place for us to be the expert unless that's the role you're applying for. So I'm a little confused by this question. Al, add in some comments for us so we can understand your question more. But it sounds like what you're asking is, how do you share your expertise to hiring people who may not be experts in software engineering or user experience or technologies? They more so are just, they're focused in human resources. So how do you communicate that you know what you're talking about as you're going through the process? In reference to AI, okay. How do you communicate that you know about AI to the hiring people?
So definitely like being able to use those buzzwords, I believe, and figuring out like what exactly is needed when it comes to like the technologies that people are like trying to use to like get AI to like do prompts and things, potentially using it in your coding tools, see if there are any open source projects that you might be able to contribute to, or be able to research to be able to like talk about how you can like understand kind of the basics of like what they're looking for when it comes to AI. But again, like this is it's another skill where it's like to me it's like Microsoft Word. Like it's another thing that you're kind of listing on there as like a generalized skill. And so like we all know how to type, I'm assuming, like we all know how to type and we all know how to do that within Microsoft Word. That wasn't a big thing 10, 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. And so I think that it's the same thing where you're making sure that you have that as like a skill that you're able to at least like interpret or at least summarize like what you were trying to get in terms of a prompt to the AI to be able to generate that answer that you're looking for.
And you
if that
can
makes any sense.
share, I just found this out recently, you can share your AI chats and open AI and chat GPT. You can share it out to other people if you want to add that to like one of your portfolio links as well. Like, this is how I use AI for design or research or coding, and have that as part of your portfolio.
Being able to, again, talk about that, learning in public and seeing how that's like supplementing like all of your resources, is definitely something else to do with it.
Absolutely. Shabab asks, what are some of your favorite Scrum resources that aren't in the official Scrum guide?
So there are, I'm gonna have to remember off the top of my head, there are Scrum flashcards that are, I forgot the website, what it's called, but it's one of those like college websites where they have like flashcards on anything. And there's a particular set of flashcards that I absolutely love, where they have like the concepts of different like Scrum terms, what those like ceremonies look like, those discussion topics and things. I like looking at those. I'm a person that, again, I like using YouTube. I'm on it all of the time. So if I can do anything with like having to learn either in public or like some way that is visual, I will go there. If there is some way to find like any like visual like resources for me, I am all there for that. I also, the other thing is that what I have learned about myself recently is that I still love reading. I still love books and things. But the thing is that I don't like textbooks. I hate reading textbooks. If they don't have any pictures in them, if there's like not any like graphics or anything, like I don't care. And that's something that I wish that I would have learned like when I was actually in college, you know?
Visuals just help. It helps like make things make more sense easily. Yes.
And the thing is that I used to think that like listening to books or captions and different things, like I wasn't supposed to use them because these are different, like very important resources for people that have like different disabilities.
But people learn in so many different ways though.
People learn in so many different ways, and why not help improve that and be able to like supplement like your knowledge with using those type of like resources as well. I'm not saying that is the answer to everything. But I like listening to books. I do text to speech when it comes to like reading like different like textbooks and resources. So I'm not having to actually like physically think about the words. I'm able to make pictures in my mind and then write those notes down on how I understand things. So be more flexible with like how exactly you're using these like different learning tools, but also just like be respectful of like the tools that you are like using as you're going forward and things, because they aren't necessarily for you, especially if you're able-bodied and things, but be flexible with like how you are experimenting like with your learning process and things. So
experimenting, trying new things. I've been getting more into podcasts, and I'll just turn on a podcast while I'm driving or while I'm working, and I'm like, oh, those are some cool like leadership tips. So that's a new AI tool that I should go check out. And that can be another way, like to like as you're taking a walk or going for a run or whatever you're doing, that you're getting some information about new career tips, about new like business leadership tips as well. And so like love it. All the ways to learn. Hey, Melissa from St. Louis, thank you for joining us.
Hello, nice to see you.
Last question for me. Why did you create your business? Tell us a little bit more about your business and how has your business evolved over time?
So, okay, I have practiced in freelancing as well as mentorship, education, as well as content creation. So I think we've like kind of gone through most of those topics so far as we've had this discussion. And so throughout my entire time in the tech industry, my primary goal was that like, I knew that transitioning careers wasn't an easy path. Like that took, I'd say for real, 2 years. people kind of look at the 6 months that it took for me to go from like rage quitting my job to like having this brand new like job in a brand new industry and things, because that's something that I talk about, but we don't actually like get to like talk at length through the process of like, these are the things that I had to like go through to actually decide and like make
Wait a
the
minute.
decision to actually do that.
You rage quit your job. Can we go back to that? What was that like?
So very, very quick. What happened is that I was in an admin role for what was it, a rental property company. And one of the marketing agents, you know, we're not going to say any names and things because this is old history and things.
You mean that nice, but the FTC said we can air our grievances now.
There's just a lot of drama. There's a lot of like, miscommunication. Like I know, just like it's not anything that I just like want to have to like relive and like do over, because
I hear you. I respect
who
that.
cares now? Yeah, and so now now that when I think back about it, it's just like, ugh, like that was so not worth the drama. Like it was just too much, and like having to kind of like feed into that because she was making me so angry was like really irritating.
Okay.
And so unfortunately,
people usually quit their managers. Yes.
So yes, because unfortunately I had a customer that came in that was like really trying to figure out something when it comes to their payment plans, and I wasn't able to help them because of my manager. And so she called me a couple of choice words, which I will not say on here because it's LinkedIn.
She didn't come for you this. No.
And
wow, that was bold.
It was very bold. It was very bold. And so after that, I was just like, you know what? Like, here is all of my documentation and things. Here's all of my stuff. Here's my letter of resignation, manager. Like, I'll see y'all later.
Goodbye. Yeah. We're
done. I'm done. So again, this is me saying this in a more professional way. That is not exactly how that went. So I will keep the details.
You kept your peace. You kept your mental health. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. If you want to hear more about that happening, you can hear all about it on my YouTube channel.
Okay, we'll be going to YouTube next, y'all.
Yeah, and so, gosh, what was I originally talking about? Business. So, there's so many things that are like going on and like transition between like the time that I had decided to start coding to when I was actually serious about it and things. And because I had to go through like so many hurdles and like bump my head so much, like I really wanted to show, especially for like with Black women, that you don't have to bump your head as much trying to experiment with everything, because I felt like I was experimenting with everything when it came to the programming languages that I was using, when it comes to the places that I wanted to work, the people that I actually had to work with, and how impressive that I needed to be, I thought, with my code, with my interviewing skills, how to make all these like woo-woo projects to like be noticed and things. And like there's some of that stuff is like it's too much of like the nitty-gritty details that I was focusing on, and it took me a long time to course correct. And so when I was finally able to get to a point where it's like, oh, this like makes sense, I wanted to be able to share that. And I think that my business and my practices have changed now because, one, the time compression that happened during the pandemic, and two, not everybody is going to see the results doing the exact same things that I did in my experience.
You gotta experiment. And
you have to experiment. And so now that things are different, now that we're in a different era, now that, 2018 me is changed to 2024 me.
Yes, we hear that.
Yes,
that's evolution. That's growth. Yes. Yes.
I
as someone who has done some rage quitting also, yes, I'm better now. I don't regret my decisions, but I'm better.
I don't regret them at all. Absolutely not. But like having to like be different from that person that I was, like I know that now I'm serving myself in a way that's like keeping me from like having to be so stressed about like walking this line
Yeah.
when it comes to the Western traditional sense of professionalism.
Being your
And
authentic
so
self. Yeah.
I'm being my authentic self. And that is what I had first off wanted to make sure that my business was. And now it's grown into that we're learning in public. We are learning in public. We are trying things. We are doing stuff in public. We are changing the way that we're experimenting with what works and pivoting if something doesn't work and being okay with that. And
I love it.
that
I love
is
it.
that is what I want to like leave behind when it comes to this legacy so far.
Yes.
And I'm definitely okay with that. If that means more teaching, great. If that means more freelancing, great. If that means more of a full-time job and things, great.
And having those options, having all those options. Yes.
Yeah. Right now it means content creation.
Content creation too. What's the name of your business? How can we find you?
So you can find me at sidneybuckner.com. That's SIDNEYBUCKNER. And you can check out my blog. You can check out my YouTube there. You can check out some of the other posts that I have. I'm on YouTube. I am youtube.com/@Sidney Buckner. So the @ Sidney Buckner. And I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. So I'm always doing the tweets. I'm always doing the things because Twitter's a mess. I absolutely love it over there.
You keep it. I'm done with Twitter or X. I'm done. Like it's too much drama for me, but I'm glad that you are sharing out information. People need to hear it. People need to see you. So thank you. Thank you.
And I'm also, if you are interested in like hearing more about the things that I have to say when it comes to that experimenting, that experimenting when it comes to that growth that I'm like experiencing myself so far, go to my website and go check out my email list. So get on there. I'm revamping that right now. So hopefully I'll be coming out with some more content with that in a little bit. And yeah, I'm excited to hear from you all, and I'm so excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining Nerdy Divas today and joining the community, sharing all your wealth of information and resources and lived experience. This has been such a good conversation. People have been dropping in their questions, and I know that they are going to be able to take everything that you've said here today and apply it to their job search and finding new opportunities and doing all the greatness. So thank you, Sidney. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us today. It's been an amazing conversation. And if you join a little bit later, hit that replay button and see the beginning of the conversation. And feel free to message Sidney or myself if anything comes up, you have any questions, or you're going through your job search process and want to know, like, what else should you be doing? So we are here as people who have gone through it, and we want to support you and see you continue to grow and shine. And let's get it. Let's get it in 2024. Let's make this money.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Please, let's make this money because we need it. We all need it. We need to survive.
We got things to do. We got families to take care of. We got travels to do. We got all the things. So
we got bills to pay. So just take care of yourself. Take care of each other.
That's right.
Know that you are loved. Please love yourself and know that you are meant to take up space.
That's right. Absolutely. Setting boundaries. Yes. Set those boundaries and take your rest. Drink your water. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. You all have a good rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Appreciate y'all. Peace.